Welcome into a bonus edition of Fantasy Baseball today. Frank Stampfl joined by Scott White, and we have a very special guest to help us get ready for opening day. We're talking a 19-time All-Star, 2-time MVP, 2-time Gold Glove winner, 8-time Silver Slugger, Rookie of the Year, World Series champion. Please welcome to the show, MLB Hall of Famer, the Iron Man, Cal Ripken Jr. Cal, it's an honor to speak with you. Are you ready for opening day?
I choked myself up. Always ready for opening day. The realization hit me when you were rolling through all those accomplishments in your career. I kept thinking, okay, I played 21 years for the Orioles, but the realization just hit me that I've been out 22 years. I didn't realize that. So I've been out longer than I played, but it was nice to hear all those things.
Hey, I could just do a whole 15, 20 minutes just talking about everything that you've done, probably longer. We could do an hour-long podcast, do a whole week's worth. But let's jump right in. We've got some fun questions that we want to ask you. I want to start with one of the new rules being implemented in baseball this season, the pitch clock. Major League Baseball is looking to speed up the game, and that's exactly what they've done so far here in spring training. What do you think about the pitch clock? Because obviously you never had to deal with anything like this. Do you think it's a good development for baseball and the way that it's trending?
Well, I got to tell you, the first I heard of the shot clock or the pitch clock, I thought of it at like the shot clock in basketball. And I went, okay, there's no real need to have a clock in baseball. There's a rhythm of the game. There's a pace of the game that kind of develops all on its own. But it seemed like there was a lot of downtime, a lot of lag that's been over the years. So when you started seeing it in application in the spring training, I started to think, okay, it's starting to put the game back to the rhythm that I remember the game at and the pitcher is usually controls that rhythm. If you get a pitcher that's on the mound, ready to pitch, the hitter's got to be in the box. But I think the shot clock and some of the restrictions now are forcing that action now. And I think people will get used to it and there'll be less downtime. There'll be more interest. And so I've gone full circle. I'm an advocate of it now.
Yeah, I do think it's the sort of thing where the more people see it and experience it, the more they like it. I've been hearing that a lot. One of the offshoots of this pitch clock rule is the pitchers being limited to 2 disengagements per at bat, which namely refers to like pickoff attempts, right?
Right.
I know you weren't much of a base stealer in your career, but what kind of impact do you imagine that having on a base stealer that 2 pickoff chances and that's it?
So I did have a few bases stolen in my career, but normally the pitcher would have to fall asleep right about here. So that happened a few times. I don't like it necessarily because there are times when the game calls for you to hold the runner on. Ricky Henderson, Kenny Lofton. In my day, you got to get on. You got to have some tools to hold them on, or to try to stop them from stealing second base. Holding the ball, quick pitching to home plate seem to be the 2 popular things. But a good pickoff throw over to first base is really effective. And so I'm a little bit torn on that one. I know that it's to get the game going. It's to get some action and maybe give an incentive to steal the bases because base stealing has kind of gone away. Like the hit and run has gone away and some other things in baseball has gone away. So I'm gonna leave judgment on that, right now to see how that works out. Generally, I don't like it though. I think that the pitcher should have a little bit more chance to hold a runner on. And maybe that's because I wasn't a base stealer, and that's the perspective. I don't know.
Do you imagine stolen bases are going to increase drastically because of that rule? Is that kind of how you're envisioning it playing out, or not really?
Well, I'd have to watch it a little closer to see what the strategies are for the pitcher. Like if you have 2 disengagements, then now it's you can't come over here anymore. I'm going to go. I'm going to get a bigger lead. You can't come over and pick me off now. I just have to wait and take off. So I don't know how that's going to end up with the success in the end, but it just seems to me that it does give a little bit more advantage to the runner.
Yeah, I was actually watching a spring training game here on Monday, and a pitcher tried a 3rd pickoff attempt. They didn't get it right. Balk. The base runner goes to second base. So it was just interesting to see. That's the first time I've actually seen it happen in a spring training game. Cal, you played just over 3,000 games with the Orioles in your career. And of course, you hold the major league record for most consecutive games played at 2,632. I would say you know a thing or two about the Baltimore Orioles and what an amazing time it is to be a fan. I mean, they have so much young talent on the roster or close to being on the roster. One of those names is Gunnar Henderson, and it's a rookie that we're expecting to break out for fantasy baseball purposes this season. What are your expectations for Henderson in 2023?
So I'm not sure exactly. Are they using him at third or short?
It looks like he's going to, I think he's going to play shortstop, but he has third base eligibility. So I think he's going to bounce around a little bit. It kind of reminds me of you a little bit. I haven't
watched really closely, so you have to fill me in a little bit. Mateo, where's Mateo going to play?
Mostly shortstop. I think mostly shortstop for Mateo, mostly third base for Henderson. But, this is something that's a little different from when you're playing, right? How much the lineup changes from day to day, how much players move around.
So that brings me into an interesting subject, is that there seems to be a flexibility that teams want, where you want to play multiple positions. There was a couple players that I played, Tony Phillips and Jerry Brown, where they could play center field one day, they could play short, second, or third. And they were really good athletes, and they could play those positions. But to me, I'd want every position to be, instead of having a jack of all trades, I want somebody to learn that position inside and out and have the execution go up. So I'm much more of an advocate of trying to create 9 all-stars or 8 all-stars in those positions and develop them. And so I think if it was me, and it's a hard decision, but Gunnar, to me, I like his actions at shortstop. And so you almost have to make a choice between Mateo. And now Mateo's a really good athlete. And I saw in spring training he played center field at one point. I don't know what they're thinking. But it almost seems like I'd want to say, Gunnar, if you're a shortstop, then here, your shortstop position is yours. Instead of having him go back and forth. Manny Machado was a good example of, he was a good shortstop, came to the big leagues, and there was a position open at third base, and then he turned into Brooks Robinson playing third base, and he's got a strong arm, and he's one of the best third basemen, to play the game. But I often wondered if he was put in shortstop, right away, and then, what that difference might have been. And so when I look at Gunnar, I'm pulling for him as a shortstop, but he's an exciting player no matter where he plays.
Cal, let's shift gears a little bit. I'm starting to think we misuse the term unicorn in sports because we really have not seen a player like Shohei Ohtani ever before. 40 home run power, 20 stolen base speed, throws 100 miles per hour, striking everybody out as a pitcher. What are your thoughts on Ohtani and what he's accomplished so far as a two-way player in baseball?
It's I just shake my head when you watch, because I can't imagine, doing both, pitching, regularly, and then playing, regularly when you're not pitching. That sounds a little bit like it's Little League again. That you come in there to pitch and then you save the game, and maybe it goes up to high school, and maybe you do it in college. I think play, but it seems like it's very difficult to do at the highest level. And Ohtani is amazing. So he can dominate a game with his arm. As we saw in the WBC, he can come in as a closer, almost like Randy Johnson did a couple of times when they were in the playoffs. They came in, and all of a sudden you could blow it out for one inning. But the big thing about it is he's armed and dangerous at the plate, and that's a weapon. I shake my head, but I sure as heck like watching him hit, and I like watching him pitch.
Yeah, I mean, he really is a unicorn. Shohei Ohtani, what he's done so far in his major league career, what he just did in the WBC, I mean, to create that kind of drama, Ohtani going up against his teammate Mike Trout to end the WBC, it was just so ridiculously fun. We have a few more fun questions, Cal, that we want to get your way. As much success as you had as a hitter, I'm sure that you had a nemesis at some point. Who was the toughest pitcher that you ever faced in your playing career?
I think statistically it has to be Dennis Eckersley. Although I hit a couple of home runs off of him, and I faced him when he was a starter in Boston, and I think when he came over to Oakland. But in the end, he had pinpoint control. He could mix his breaking ball in anytime he wants, and he could raise the ball up in the strike zone. So statistically, I never minded facing him, but I didn't do too well statistically off of him. I think I did all right against Goose. Goose Gossage and Nolan Ryan were two guys that the intimidation factor was evident. When you came to the plate, Goose was all arms and legs and threw the ball harder than anybody in the league. And when he would miss up and into a righty. And so a lot of times I couldn't get that out of my mind, when he was there. And I think the best thing that happened there was I met him once, and I found out that he was a pretty nice guy. And so it almost took that edge away, and I was able to hit better. Nolan Ryan did that thing and gave you a bow tie. So he threw a ball right here where the bow tie was supposed to be, so he would keep you from diving over to the outside corner. And he had a hook curveball that started the same place as the bow tie would. And so you had to really stay in there, to hang in on his curveball. So, the intimidation factor can be real, and they do try to push you off the plate a little bit, but you can never hit thinking about being hit. And so you somehow had to play a mind game to get past that.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question that I'm going to make it a little easier for you. So I want to know the Mount Rushmore, your Mount Rushmore at the shortstop position. I'm going to put you on it. We're chiseling your face on it as we speak. But who are the three that would join you, the Mount Rushmore of shortstops?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, Ozzie Smith, I always wish that I could move like Ozzie. I had a chance to go to Japan and split time with him at shortstop. I think it was 1986. And we hit fungos to each other. I don't know whether we were short a coach or whatever else. I don't know, but we actually hit ground balls to each other. And when I was hitting ground balls to him, I tried to get him into a rhythm. Go right, go left, go right, go left. And then I would go right, to see what his reaction was. And I couldn't trick him. All of a sudden, if it would have been me, I'd have been halfway moving to the where the ball was supposed to go. And he just turned around and picked the ball up so clean. He was acrobatic. So anyway, Ozzie would be one on my wall. Who else does or not on my wall? On the mountain. Give me some people that I haven't thought of right now. Give me some examples.
Derek Jeter. What are we thinking about Derek Jeter? Is he in the Mount Rushmore all-time shortstops?
He'd be in the Mount Rushmore of all of us, or all the shortstops. If you just played playoff games, there's nobody more clutch than Derek, defensively or offensively in those games. So yeah, Derek would be in there. Who else did I like?
I've got all time.
Omar Vizquel was in when I saw him play a lot, and he was anybody that can take a two hopper that was topspin off the turf and catch it barehanded in a no-hitter game and throw the guy at first base. He was pretty amazing. And what he used to do sometimes when a fly ball would go up with the sun, instead of battling the sun this way, he would turn around like a catcher and look the other way and catch the ball, which I don't know how he did that. So Omar had a super set of skills, and he was a wonderful shortstop too. So do we have enough for a mountain yet?
I think we're about there. What about like maybe a current player who is verging on joining that, maybe a fifth head on the Mount Rushmore? I'll give you some names and I'll let you pick one. Trey Turner, Francisco Lindor, Bo Bichette, Corey Seager.
All those guys are great. Corey Seager to me was built a little bit like me at shortstop. Yeah. I think he's bigger than me, weight wise and height wise as a shortstop. And I think his footwork is really great. Lindor has a great legs. When I was doing work for TBS and we had the playoff games, he was amazing how much lateral range he had, and his first step quickness was pretty off the chart. Who's the other one you mentioned?
Trey Turner.
Oh, Trey Turner has turned out to be one fantastic player. All the way around, really exciting. And he seems to be getting better and better all the time too. So there's some really tough choices, but I gave you my impressions of each and every one of them. They all could be on the mountain.
Yeah, absolutely appreciate it. Cal, before we wrap up here, do you mind if I play a short clip for you?
Sure.
All right, here we go.
I love baseball. I've just been around it my whole life.
Growing up an Orioles fan in the 90s meant that you worshiped the ground that Cal Ripken Jr. walked on.
He's the Iron Man, he has the longest streak for consecutive games played, and that's pretty incredible.
You know what? I think my colleague is here. I want to introduce Mr. Cal Ripken Jr.
Hi, guys.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, no way!
So, Tony, what if you didn't have to work on opening day?
Well, I would go to opening day.
I'm here to tell you that Sage and I are going to supply you with opening day tickets.
What?
No way. That's awesome. That would be pretty cool.
Oh my God. That's so cool.
I can't wait to tell my dad. He's going to be so excited.
I hope you guys have a wonderful time.
Thank you, Cal.
That was a lot of fun to do. I was up at Ripken Stadium doing that. And Sage is a provider for accounting, financial, HR, and payroll. And they focus on small to mid-size companies. We use them at Ripken Baseball. So we're more mid-size. And the idea of me in this campaign is to try to convince people to take a day off. I think was pretty creative. And to have the ability to deliver the good news to people that they were going to opening day, I had a great time doing that. So it's a great partnership. MLB, it's going to enhance the in-game activities with MLB. And I guess I'm an activator of sorts, but my job mainly is to convince people to take days off. Go figure.
Yeah, I mean, I love watching the video. I love that interaction as well. Just tell us a little bit more here before we wrap up. What made Sage the right partner for this type of engagement? Obviously, you talked about enhancing the MLB viewing experience for fans. Talk about how important it is to create an engaging and informative in-game experience for fans looking to watch the game.
Yeah. So we live in a world of analytics, and whether you like it or not, and I'm a very analytical person, and I used analytics a lot in how I played the position. And so any way to bring that to life, in the form of pitching decisions or, understanding what the manager's strategies are in between innings, that's where Sage came to Major League Baseball to kind of break into the market over here and tapping into the analytics, which is really is what they're an expert in. It enhances and it makes you understand the game a little bit better. And I think the game's always had a little bit of a bad name that it's too long. But if you really know what's going on, if we can make it open, or we can create some things that make you think a little bit and make you understand the game, then you love the game a little bit deeper. And it's not necessarily all about the pace of play. Although the shot clock, the pitch clock seems to be making a difference too. So anyway, I think it's a perfect partnership, with Major League Baseball, and I guess I'm the activator.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, look, you don't have to talk analytics to us. I mean, we're all about it. So we support it 100%. We're always talking a whole bunch of crazy stats here on Fantasy Baseball Today. Cal Ripken Jr., it's been a ton of fun. Thanks again for your time. We really do appreciate it, man.
Yep. It's my pleasure, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, for Scott and Cal, I am Frank. Thanks for watching and listening. This bonus edition of Fantasy Baseball Today. We'll actually be back in about an hour with a live head-to-head category draft. We will see you then.